Welcome to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. So today we have two representatives from Control Solutions. Some of you may not even know what that is because we deal with typically the product name. Some famous ones out there from this company is Teco Pro, which is an IGR, Bifen IT. And there's a ton more that we'll get into. But we have two guests. So these two representatives, one is Janis Reed. She is the technical service manager. She has a PhD in entomology. And then also we'll hear maybe a little bit from Rob Ives. He is the West Coast territory manager. So Janis and Rob, are you there?
Yes, we are.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi. Okay. Let's jump right into it. So, Janis, I'll start with you real quick. So, technical service manager, what exactly do you do?
It's a lot easier to say my title than it is to say what I do for Control Solutions. So, my job has three parts to it. Probably the most exciting part of my job is I actually get to work on all the new products that Control Solutions is developing and has developed over the last 3 to 4 years. So any of the new launches that you might have seen in the last couple of years, I've been directly involved with. So some examples of that are Taurus Dry, ProFlex, and a Fuse Foam. And some of the newer products that we're just launching now are some bait products and some other sprayables and a few more dry flowable products that we're still working on. So that's a big, huge part of my job that takes up quite a bit of time. Another third of my job, I get to do a lot of work with our industry magazines and our marketing, and I really get to do a lot of fun stuff, blog writing, magazine article writing, all kinds of things for our marketing team. And then the last third of my job is doing things like this, working with our regional territory managers, working with our national accounts, and providing technical assistance, technical services as needed. So lots of different things I get to do. It definitely keeps me from getting bored.
Yeah, it sounds like you pretty much own the place.
Not even close, but I do a lot for it.
No, that's awesome. And Rob?
Yeah, my duties are basically to, number one, be a resource to our pest control friends out in the industry, also to our pest control distributors, as far as introducing them to our product line, doing product training, both classroom and field training, and helping industry members utilize our products in the manners in which they are designed to be used, and hopefully help them make money using our product line.
Okay, awesome. That's great. So I have a ton of questions on my side. Being an operator, a technician in the California area, a lot of the listeners are actually outside of California. So some of the products that you probably have on the market, you can't even sell here. But I want to talk about some that we actually can use, that I use currently. And one of those is Teco Pro. And I saw there's actually a few different Tecos that you have.
There are. So Teco is a family of products that Control Solutions makes. And Teco Pro was one of our very first launches. I believe it was somewhere around 2015 is when we first came out with the product. The idea was to take a really well-known, used and loved IGR and make it better. So by adding an additional active ingredient, which is our proprietary active ingredient, Novaluron, we put that together with pyroproxyfen and really made a next level, in effect, IGR for PNPs to use both indoors and outdoors. So really effective product. A lot of the work that I've done with it has been with indoor pests such as German cockroaches, as well as outdoor pests such as things like ticks. A lot of people don't think about using an insect growth regulator on a pest like a tick because they're not insects. But what we found is Teco Pro is very effective against stopping the tick life cycle and ultimately stopping the next generation of eggs from being viable. So the addition of Novaluron into this product has really opened up a lot of doors for us with efficacy. And what that led to is we've developed a whole family of products, including some brand new products we just launched, not available in California yet, but certainly available in most of the other lower 48. And that is a couple of products called Teco Trio. Now, Teco Trio is a combination of 3 insect growth regulators, including hydrocrine, and it's an indoor-only family of products for the Teco Trio group. And obviously, with hydrocrine, you get a lot of that lateral movement of the active ingredient hydrocrine. You get all the benefits of that Teco Pro product with the advantage of hydrocrine. So you're moving that product around, that gaseous form of it into deep into cracks and crevices. We also make some products in the Teco family for the animal health side of our business. So we're not probably going to talk about much of that here, but if you have questions, obviously anyone can contact me or Rob if you have questions about those products as well.
Yeah. So with Teco, so I went onto the website, I checked out some of the other products that you have. So Teco Trio, obviously is not in California yet, hopefully soon. But so the main difference is Teco Trio, that is mainly used for a fog treatment.
No, you can use it anything indoors. Crack and crevice, you can foam drains with it. You can void apply with it. You can do just about anything you want as long as it's indoors. So Teco Trio, because it contains hydrocrine, it is an indoor use only product.
Okay, Janis, and I am going to be one of the dumber ones of the group here. So that active ingredient, you said how do you say it?
Hydrocrine.
Hydrocrine. Okay, so what is that? What does it do? What's the purpose of that? Why would you add that into Teco to make it better? How does it make it better?
Okay, so hydrocrine is another insect growth regulator. So very similar to pyroproxyfen, which you might already be familiar with. Pyroproxyfen is the active ingredient in a number of IGRs available in our market. So it's just like pyroproxyfen, and that is it is a juvenile hormone mimic, which basically means when an insect is developing through its normal larval development or nymphal development, it inhibits it from completing that development to adulthood. So by acting as a juvenile hormone mimic, it tricks or it confuses that insect, and I'm anthropomorphizing here, but trying to explain how it works. Mm-hmm. So the hormone being present, the synthetic one, makes it to where the insect can't molt normally into adulthood. And oftentimes that's when you use products like Teco Pro or other IGR containing products, specifically pyroproxyfen, you get the crinkled wings and you get the not quite normally molted cockroaches. Mm-hmm. That's what you get. It's because of the juvenile hormone mimic. Now, hydrocrine works in the exact same way. It's a juvenile hormone mimic, but it's also known to be the most volatile of the IGRs. What does that mean? That means when you apply it as a liquid out of your B&Gs as normally, the active ingredient itself volatilizes or turns into a gas, and then it's heavy. So it penetrates down into cracks and crevices and voids that you may not have reached with your liquid application, but you can reach with this volatile active ingredient.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay. that was actually really good explaining that. So, what have you have you tried this product with bed bugs as well? I know we talked about cockroaches, but what about bed bugs?
Yes, we've had some very positive results with bed bugs. The work that I've done with it, we've always in the field, we've always mixed it with an adulticide. So when you start combining products like that, it's hard to put your finger on exactly what's giving you the results in the field. But what we're seeing in the lab is very promising, and we're seeing some effects on the immature version of the insects. And obviously, because these are all IGRs, they're not going to affect the adult insects as they do the immatures. So that's why we always in the field combine it with an adulticide, because you're talking about, the active ingredients in this case that only affect immature insects. So you want to make sure you're putting something out there to stop the insects that are currently there, the adult insects that are currently there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I have a few episodes on, talking about bed bug control and cockroach control. And always, is explained is definitely IGRs to kind of stop that. And what I even explain to customers is we're trying to stop the population, cut it off to where they can't keep reproducing, because that's a huge part of the control.
Absolutely. Stop that next generation, stop the population growth. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so,
Daniel,
yeah.
Tip in, when we talk about an integrated pest management program, we always talk about, reduction of harborage and food and water and things like that. And I also believe, this is an extension using IGRs as an integrated pest management approach. Because what you're doing is you're breaking the life cycle, you're stopping the potential reproduction of insects through the use of these products. So, and they are historically really good selections from the standpoint of toxicity. They're very good from that standpoint. And they're, in my opinion, just another extension of an integrated pest management program. And on top of that, the insect growth regulators have been around for a long time. Not necessarily the Teco Pro, but some of the mimics that Janis mentioned have been around since the 70s and 80s. And what they have shown is no documented resistance in the insects. So when you're using materials against insects that are reproduced very quickly and have the high potential of resistance, IGRs will slow that down and they extend the life of our residual molecules that we want to keep in the industry. So they are an excellent tool to use when we're out controlling tough and difficult pests.
And just to make sure I heard you correct, so you're saying that insects can't even build up a resistance against IGRs?
So they can, but we just haven't seen that in structural pest control.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it is a possibility, but when you're mixing that product in with others, the likelihood of that even happening is a lot lower, and with other products as well.
Correct.
Okay. And Janis, we were talking before about some of the new products that Control Solutions is actually going to put out here pretty soon, or has already put out, correct?
Mm-hmm, correct.
And what products are those?
So our newest launch that is approved in California is our Taurus Dry product. Now, Taurus Dry is a brand new concept in termiticide delivery. And what it is a delivery system, including a small piece of equipment that allows PMPs to make applications 18 to 24 inches deep into voids, cracks, places, galleries that termites are living. So the dry flowable material, which contains fipronil, is applied with this small, essentially a micro duster. And by utilizing this piece of equipment and this just brand new revolutionary formula, you're able to make applications in places and ways that guys have never been able to do before. That's our newest launch. And it is very exciting that we have this approved in California. You can buy it today, and obviously the rest of the United States as well. The only state we don't have approval in today is Alaska, and that's because we didn't ask for it. Not a lot of structural termite problems in Alaska, but do have it in California, do have it in all the surrounding western states and across the United States as well. Probably the most important thing to know about this product is it is a termite product. It is not meant for general pest control. And again, it's applied to this brand new revolutionary precision delivery system device. So if you guys want to take a look, we have an entire dedicated website with data, videos, all kinds of things on both the precision delivery system and Taurus Dry. And you can find that at www.csi-tds pests.com, like precision delivery system. So you can find a lot of information there. That's one of our most exciting launches. It's absolutely one of the coolest things I've been able to work with since I've been here is the precision delivery system.
Yeah, because I think that's the little pistol-looking gun, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because that did come out, and I remember I saw that actually at Pest World. Where was it? San Diego?
We launched it in San Diego. Mm-hmm.
Okay, then that is where I saw it, but unfortunately we couldn't get it yet.
Right. So the precision delivery system is a piece of equipment, so it doesn't require approval from California, but the products that we put through the system do have to be approved. So as of today, the one we do have approved in California is Taurus Dry. We have in pretty much every other state in the union our Dachshund Precise product, which is our cockroach, ant, indoor-outdoor general pest control product.
Okay.
And it contains...
When are you coming out with the approvals for California for those?
That is an excellent question. I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you the answer. In California, there's a number of steps we have to go through to get approval. Okay. And one of those steps, it was there for almost a year.
Yeah, because that was really exciting. I really wanted to get that, but none of the products were available here, so I couldn't. It wouldn't even matter if I had the piece of equipment. I wouldn't be able to use it.
So yeah, you can today because we have Taurus Dry and we have Taurus Dry approval in California. So if you go to your local distributor, whoever you use, you can buy Taurus Dry today.
That's awesome. Okay, and so for the listeners, go check it out on the website because it's actually really cool. So I saw this 2 years ago, or almost, I guess a little less than 2 years, when we went to Pest World in San Diego. And the concept of is instead of using the bulb duster, there's a little cartridge that you actually stick onto this gun that's battery powered, and it's just a trigger pull. So it's dusting for you instead of constantly pumping the duster itself. So it's actually a really cool concept. So if it's out in your state, definitely check it out because it's a genius. I love it. I love the idea of it. It's really cool.
Well, thanks. Some of the feedback we've gotten from the field already. Now, Taurus Dry we've only had on the market since basically October of 2020, so only about 7 months. And some of the feedback we've gotten from the field has been very positive, and probably the two most common things I hear is, number one, it's one-handed operation. So instead of having to hold a piece of equipment in both of your hands or the applicator in one hand and the bulb or something else on the other, or with an aerosol can having to hold, one end of a tube with one hand and the actual can with the other like we do with foam, this is a true one-handed operation and really makes it safer for termite technicians when they're on ladders, when they're in attics. They can always be holding on with their other hand. So there's a safety factor built in. And then, of course, the other bit of feedback we're getting quite a bit of is just how efficacious it is, just how well it works. So, again, getting a lot of great feedback from the field, and I've been real happy with how this product is being accepted by the industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what were some of the other things that you were going to talk about as well, the other products?
So we've also launched one other product in California recently, and again, approved on all 50 states, but launched in California, and that's our ProFlex product. Now, when we developed ProFlex, the idea was kind of an outdoor kind of treat for mosquitoes, treat for general pests, be able to make applications into the landscape, that sort of thing. But as we've gone through the process, what we've really found is this is a really excellent both indoor and outdoor product. So ProFlex is somewhat unique in that it is a kind of a new formulation. The formulation is called a ZC, like zebra, Z for zebra, and then C for cat, ZC formulation. And a ZC formulation is a combination formulation of a capsule suspension and a suspension concentrate. So in our industry, we deal with a lot of suspension concentrates. You mentioned bifenite, that is a suspension concentrate. So a lot of people are familiar with SCs, And then if you talk about a capsule suspension, a lot of people are familiar with those too, because even at us at CSI, we make several. In the California market, we make Seismic CS, and we also make, what's the gamma one, Rob?
Optimate.
Optimate. Thank you. My brain just went completely blank. We also have Optimate, which are both capsule suspensions. But what this formulation is a combination of both of those. So you have a combination of a capsule suspension and a suspension concentrate all in one bottle. Well, that's great, Janis, but who cares? This is revolutionary. And what it gives the technician, the PMP, the person doing the service, is they get the longevity of control from a capsule suspension, and they get the works right now benefit from the suspension concentrate, all in a single formulation. This is also the very first time ever that pyroproxyfen has been encapsulated. So the pyroproxyfen in our formulation is inside those capsules that we talked about, those microcaps. And so you get lots of benefits when you start talking about putting this product into the environment or into a structure when you're trying to control pests. So that's kind of the idea. The active ingredient, the adulticide portion in Proflex is going to be lambda-cyhalothrin. This is a really well-known active ingredient. It's commonly used in our industry. Again, if you're familiar with our Seismic product, that's the same active ingredient in Seismic, except in Proflex, you have this revolutionary formulation, and you have the benefits of really simple measuring and ease of use. So what do I mean by that? PMP in the field, you're trying to measure 0.4 ounces or 0.8 ounces or a third of an ounce. Not with Proflex. We've made it simple. The application rates are either 1 ounce per gallon or 2 ounces per gallon. So you don't have to do all this crazy eyeballing. Was that 0.3 ounces or is that 0.4 ounces? Can't quite tell. No, it's either 1 ounce per gallon or 2 ounces per gallon for normal exterior, interior, residential, commercial pesticide application. So we really tried to make something that was not only extremely effective, new, proprietary, revolutionary formulation, but also simple and easy to use for the PMP. And so those are two of our most recent projects.
And what feedback have you gotten already from PMPs?
So I already told you Taurus Dry has been accepted very well. We're getting so much excellent feedback on that product. People just absolutely love it. Proflex has also gotten a ton of really great feedback. People love the ease of use. They love the label because it's very generous for both indoors and outdoors, and it's an excellent exterior perimeter mosquito product.
Okay, and how long? What's the longevity of it after it's sprayed, dried?
Oh, good question. So one of the things we did recently is we did some studies on plants that had been treated with this product and how long would the residual product last in an outdoor setting, sprayed on plants. And for all mosquito species, we're getting 90 days of control. For some mosquito species, we're going out beyond that. So we're getting up to 150 days of control on some mosquito species. All mosquito species, a full 90 days, though.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's awesome.
And we offer a 90-day mosquito promise. So if you go to our website and look for the mosquito promise as associated with Proflex, this is controlsolutionsinc.com, and you go to Proflex, you can look at our mosquito promise, and it's a 90-day no callback promise.
Wow, okay. So now talking kind of a little bit about the residual, I use personally Bifin IT a lot. That is that's part of our regular service that we're using. What's the longevity? How long does that product actually last on the exterior of a home?
So it's pretty well known that bifenthrin is an excellent choice for exterior perimeter applications. It is economical. It is soft on applicators. And what I mean by that is doesn't cause a lot of paresthesia or that kind of sunburn feeling when you get some pyrethroids on your skin. Yep. It's a very, very friendly product. But it's pretty well known that you get about 30 days residual with that product on an exterior structure.
Okay. And how do pyrethroids kill an insect. So bifenite, the process, I mix it into a tank, and this is for general PMPs, so they understand how their product is actually taking care of an insect issue. So we go to a house, we mix it, we spray it onto a foundation of a home. An insect now crawls across that. What happens after that point?
Okay, so the insect picks the residual product, the original AI that's been laid down by the PMP. They pick it up on their body, and then it gets into their body in some way. Depending on the insect, it can either get into their body through a grooming process, or it can actually penetrate through the integument, where the different segments of the insects come together. So there's a lot of different ways it can gain access to the actual, neurological systems of the insect. But once it gets in, the insecticide then begins to alter the function of the neuronal membrane. So without getting too complicated, everywhere in your body between two ganglia or cells in your body that take neuron information from place to place to place, in between those, you have these, think of them as highways in between nerve centers. And so what happens on those highways is the pyrethroids affect the highway and keep cars from being able to go on and off the highway properly. And ultimately what you get is a disruption in the signaling between those nerve centers. So if you think about, a highway being shut down, all of a sudden two cities stop being able to communicate via trucking, via newspaper delivery, being whatever. That is what's happening in the nerve system. It stops the signaling between those nerve centers. And it does that by disrupting the voltage-gated sodium channels, which is like an exit in and on and off a highway, and stops that system from working properly. There's pretty agreement that that's the main target, is that voltage-gated sodium channel of pyrethroids. But I could probably do 30 minutes just explaining how pyrethroids affect an insect. So I'm trying to be very simple here and concise, but that's basically it. It messes with the ability of those neurons to talk to each other properly.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And then that eventually starts to shut down the insect body altogether, I'm assuming, right?
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then that's what eventually we find, a dead insect right where we spray.
Correct. It actually causes them just to die. Yeah, they run out of, the cars run out of gas. We'll keep it simple again. All those cars stuck on the highway, they run out of gas.
Yeah, okay. And so now we talk about how fast certain products can actually kill an insect, and why is there a delay process, and how does that even work, where they're getting a delay from you spray an insect and it dies instantly to where you spray an insect and it could take an hour?
So all of that boils down to the mode of action of the actual insecticide. All right, so some insecticides like pyrethroids, for example, so you talk about bifenite, you talk about Proflex, you talk about seismic, all of those are pyrethroids, and they work in the way that I just discussed. But when you start talking about some of the slower acting compounds, things like indoxacarb in our Doxum Precise or Doxum IG, you're talking about fipronil in Taurus and Taurus Dry. If you're talking about abamectin or some of the other non-repellent insecticides, those work in very different ways. And because the insects often have to kind of run out of gas, or something has to not be able to build back up, or there's some other effect, it causes them to die much more slowly. But it all comes down to mode of action. One of the things I recommend to anybody who's interested in learning more about mode of action is to look up the IRAC online. And this is the Insecticide Resistance Action Committee. And on their website, they have an entire section devoted to mode of action of different insecticide chemicals. And what it'll help you do is to understand how different products, how different active ingredients that we use work differently, and how to properly switch modes of action. So instead of just thinking about changing from Bison IT to Talstar, which, spoiler alert, that's the exact same thing, we want to switch from Bison IT to perhaps Dominion, because those are completely different modes of action.
Okay.
And I really
what?
That Insecticide Resistance Action Committee website is fantastic.
Okay, yeah, and I wrote that down, and I'll definitely put that into the description so everyone can look that up if they do have any further questions. And so going back, sorry, I didn't mean to we kind of went off on a little tangent there, but what other products are coming out?
So, again, I mentioned our Techo Trio products that we're hoping to get registered in California soon. We're also hoping to get Doxim Precise, which is another product meant to be applied to our precision delivery system. Hoping to get that approved in California very soon, keeping our fingers crossed. And then another recent launch we just had, again, not yet approved in California, but approved in the rest of the states, is our Doxim IG product, which is an exterior scatter bait for things like large cockroaches, millipedes, earwigs, all the little kind of occasional invaders we think of coming from the outside. And it can also be used indoors for things like silverfish, again, large cockroaches, and any other pest problems you might have inside. Now, I've also heard really good things about it for heavily foraging ants. So things like Argentine ants, odorous house ants, it works pretty well against them as well. So those are probably the most recent launches we have, and the ones that are gaining the most traction in our industry.
Gotcha. Okay. One of the things that I would say, so out of your product lines, me running into consistent issues is earwigs. Those ones, earwigs seem almost impossible to take care of. What would be your product of choice if you were talking to a PMP? This is the combination of products, or use this product to take care of them?
So earwigs are one of those things that they boil down to three things. The first one is moisture. Earwigs have to have moisture. It's part of their biology. They're very moisture dependent. The next thing is earwigs are kind of scavengers. They'll eat just about anything. But it's also important to understand that earwigs they have parental care. What do I mean by that? A female earwig lays eggs, and she doesn't just wander off to find the next thing. She actually cares for that clutch of eggs. And we typically only think of this in like higher insects, social insects, those kind of things. Like this is unusual in a lower insect like an earwig. But I recommend a couple of different things with earwigs. So the first is doing as much drenching of the areas you know that they're breeding in as possible, and including that insect growth regulator in with that drench. So if you start talking about, any adulticide plus Techo Pro. I recommend that because, again, these insects have gradual metamorphosis, so they molt quite a few times between their immature stage and their adult stage. So every time they molt, you have the opportunity to affect them with that insect growth regulator application. So I really am a fan of drenching those mulch areas, those areas that are cracks and crevices, places the earwigs are living and breeding. And then the next thing I recommend is doing a band outside of that treated area. So like imagine you drench the mulch, so then you want to step away from the mulch and put a band of an insect bait, such as our Doxim IG, in a band around the structure. So you've got a layer of protection on the structure itself that you've made with your, let's say in your case, you made it an application of Bison IT. Mm-hmm. Then you have that drench in the mulched areas with Bison IT plus Techo Pro. And then you move out one more ring in that bullseye and you've made a barrier of that insecticide bait. So you've given them something to forage out away from their normal habitat, and you've protected the structure also by them coming in with that repellent of bifenthrin.
Okay, that's awesome. So that's something great, because that's one I think every technician I've ever talked to has always come up and has had that concern of how do I take care of these. Those are a big one that we have a ton of callbacks with. I know everyone talks about other things like ants, having callbacks for that, but earwigs seem to be one that, it's almost just kind of live with it. You have an earwig in your house, you're just going to have to live with it. So that's a huge help for us, so we can, take care of them properly with the proper products as well. So what would be, talking about ants, what would be a great ant treatment, or what products could we use to eliminate most popular Argentine ants, I think, that everybody runs into? So what would be the best way to take care of them?
So if I have Argentine ants in California, I'm probably going to kind of use the same method that we just talked about for earwigs, but I'm going to kind of adapt it a little bit for ants. So the first thing I'm going to do is address the actual structure itself. So I need to protect the structure, so I'm probably going to use something on the exterior perimeter of that structure, such as fuse or Taurus, to kill ants as they try to enter the structure. I do like non-repellents for ant control because you do have the ability to kind of move that product throughout the colony instead of just killing ants as they cross over a treated barrier. So I'm going to treat the structure itself with something like fuse. When you move away from the structure into the turf and the landscape, I like our Dominion 2L product. I'm sorry, not Dominion 2L. I like our Dominion product because Dominion is label-free in turf. You can use it in and around plants. And because Argentine ants are known to tend aphids, other honeydew-producing insects, it can be very effective to eliminate some of that food source and take away one of the things that they are using to survive. So again, using that Dominion out away from the structure can help reducing the numbers that are around the structure. And then finally, I would lay down bait materials in the next ring out away from that double ring that we just made of the structure and the ring around the turf and the ornamental bushes. So bait, any ant bait will do. Scatter baits are typically good. You can also mix in gel baits if you can find places to put them and if your product is labeled for that. But that's typically my go-to. I always kind of think of the structure as a bullseye, and the house is the center of that bullseye, and then I want to make rings of protection around the structure as you move further and further away from it.
Okay, that's great. And speaking of, thank you for actually explaining that, because I think a ton of PMPs use kind of just, they go to a one go-to, product and they spray that, and they use this spray and pray method is in hopes that I'll get rid of them. Where this is, you're actually explaining it as a target. The house is the center, and you're creating multiple barriers that they're going to have to cross, go through, and multiple different products to where you're getting rid of them. And it's more of a sure kill. You're going to make sure they're dead. Other than let's hope they cross it at some point and take it back.
Right. And like I said, I like to give layers of protection, because if I'm a PMP and I know that the source of this ant problem, in your case, Argentine ants for that example, is coming from the landscape. If you're just focusing on the structure, you're missing like a tidal wave of problems out in the landscape that, if you address it, can make the problem at the structure be a tenth of what you're dealing with. So I'm a huge proponent of where is the problem coming from and what can you do to alleviate that problem in the grander scheme of things. And
I really like that you brought that up, because one thing, and the reason really of this podcast, is giving this information to technicians so they can really jump and take a step ahead of that learning curve. A lot of guys don't understand that until they've already messed up multiple times. And then someone has to step in with more experience to teach them this is the right way, this is the correct method to get rid of them. And so, I'm glad that you brought that up, but this is a big thing for PMPs, technicians. Read the labels, find the products that work, use multiple different products. It's not just a one-fits-all type of thing. You need to use multiple in a lot of the situations that we're dealing with.
And to kind of finish up with what you're saying, if what you're doing isn't working, don't keep doing the same thing. I had a professor in college who used to say the surest sign of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I apply that to pest control all the time. Do something different. If what you're working is giving you mass results, try something else, and maybe that'll give you better results. But again, doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think, like you said, is some technicians will use just a different name brand product, but it has the exact same chemical. And so they think they're using a different product, but in reality, they didn't read the label. They actually didn't do the research. And so they're spraying, the same exact pyrethroid in that area, and it didn't do anything.
Right. And that's why I like to teach people about different modes of action and where you can find that information and, go learn about the different products that you have access to and become more educated about that, because the more you know, the more you know, and the more you know, the more you understand, and the more you understand, the better you're going to be at this job ultimately.
Well, yeah. And that is, super important, because if you're, whether you're the owner of the company who is purchasing these products and providing it to the technicians, or even if you're just the technician who's running the route, you need to know this information, because if we're not making the customer happy, ultimately that house, that business, if they're not getting the pest control, then eventually that disrupts everything. So the pest control company's out. Eventually Control Solution doesn't have anybody to sell their products to. And so that mode of action, knowing what that is and how that applies to your job, is huge, in my opinion.
I agree. And again, it's just going to make you better steward of your active ingredients. It's going to make you make better, judicious applications. And again, just the more you know, and you're going to be a better pest management professional. So yeah, I'm a huge proponent of that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Janis, before we end, is there anything else you would like to add before we end?
I can't think of anything. I guess take a look at our websites I mentioned. We have csi-pds.com to learn all about our precision delivery system and Taurus Dry, as well as Doxin Precise in all states of California. And then also take a look at our regular website, which is controlsolutionsinc.com, to learn about the other products we've talked about today.
Is there a way to get a hold of you and to ask you any questions?
Absolutely. My email is janis.reed@controlsolutionsinc.com.
Okay, awesome. And if it's okay with you, I will put that in the description as well.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And then, Rob, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I know we haven't been talking a lot, but Rob, is there a way to get a hold of you? Because it sounds like you are the territory manager on the West Coast. I'm assuming there's probably other managers throughout the U.S. as well.
Yes. The easiest way to get a hold of me, two ways, is I will give you my cell phone number. I have that with me pretty much 24/7. And the number is area code 713-203-4058. And they feel free to call me, or they can email me at Ives, IVES, at controlsolutionsinc.com.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for being on. This was a huge help for me, and I'm actually super excited for some of the products that are going to be coming out and that are already out now, especially with Precision. I love that thing. That was great to kind of play with when we were at the expo. So I am excited for that. And everybody who's outside of California, I'm jealous that you get to use that on a day-to-day basis with a ton of different insects. So, God, you guys are lucky.
Daniel, if I might interject one quick thing real quick.
Yes.
We talked about our Proflex and the active ingredient being lambda cyhalothrin. You mentioned you are a bifenthrin user and you like that active ingredient. If you are considering a potential summertime and you would like to upgrade your material, we have the same concept with a product called Duraflex, which the active ingredient, instead of being lambda-cyhalothrin, is bifenthrin. And so it is that ZC formulation that Janis talked about. The other two actives are exactly the same. The only difference is you're changing from lambda-cyhalothrin to bifenthrin. That is not registered in California yet, but it is in the lower 48. And so if you are a bifenthrin fan and you're looking at upgrading your bifenthrin product to a microencapsulated or encapsulated formulation with the two other active ingredients, that product is also available out in the rest of the country.
Okay, yeah. So everyone listening, send me a message. Let me know if, you did switch or you have switched. I'd love to know, how it's worked for you. And I'll let you guys know. I'll let Janis and Rob know the feedback on what the listeners say. And so that is everything I had to ask. So thank you so much, Janis. Thank you, Rob, for coming on. This was a ton of fun, and I hope you'll be on again.
All right. Thanks so much. If you have anything else for us, just let us know.
All right. Thank you so much. You have a good one.
You too. Bye, Daniel.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
All right. So there you have it from two representatives from Control Solutions. Once again, you may not know the company, but I guarantee you've used one of their products. Just go out and look on the label. It's right there, but a lot of the famous ones that they have is Bifin IT, Teco Pro, Dominion 2L, and a ton of others that are out there. But go and check out their website. They have a ton of information on all the products. This is one way to learn, how to spray and what to spray for. And then also go back and listen to the episode again, because Janis just helped us out with some of the toughest insects to take care of and how to do it and with what products. You don't have to go and talk to a guy who's been doing it for 20, 30 years. You just got that information and exactly how to do it and what to do it with, from people who have studied this. This is science. These guys know exactly what's going on and how these products work. And they just gave you their knowledge on how to take care of those insects and what products are going to do the best to give you the best results, which is going to make your customers the happiest. So thank you for listening to this episode. Remember, you can always reach out at DNA Pest Podcast on Instagram. You can DM me, or you can send an email at dnapestpodcast@gmail.com, or go to the website at DNA Pest Podcast. Thanks for listening, guys.